somebody hurt my feelings, can I file a lawsuit against them? That's a question we get asked every now and then. In the state of Texas, there is no actual cause of action just for hurt feelings. People often get confused about what is emotional distress or what is mental anguish, which those two are kind of one and the same thing. And those are elements of damages that can be recovered in certain circumstances in Texas. So in order to make a recovery for emotional distress or mental anguish, you have to offer evidence that shows it's more than just upset feelings. In other words, you have to show evidence of the nature, the duration, and the severity of the emotional distress that you incurred in order to demonstrate that there is a substantial disruption in your daily routine. It can't just be I'm upset, I'm crying, or whatever. You have to have a actual substantial disruption in your normal daily routine in order to make a claim out of it. The other thing you need to know about it is in Texas there is no cause of action strictly for negligent infliction of emotional distress. You can recover emotional distress when you have a physical injury due to somebody's negligence, because that emotional distress is something that would accompany the physical injury itself, such as if somebody has scarring or disfigurement and now they're going to be embarrassed because of those scars, that accompanies that type of injury. You can make a claim for it. But without any kind of physical injury, you cannot simply file a lawsuit for negligent infliction of emotional distress. There is a cause of action in the state of Texas for intentional infliction of emotional distress, but that's a little bit different. In order to recover for intentional infliction of emotional distress, you have to show that the person who caused you the distress, that is the actor who you're suing, was acted with intentional or reckless conduct, that the conduct was extreme and outrageous, that it caused you emotional distress, and that the emotional distress itself was severe, just like we talked about something that would disrupt your daily routine earlier. The conduct of the actor is going to be judged by a reasonable person standard. So it's not just a, well, it was very extreme and outrageous to me. It has to be something that the average reasonable person would view as extreme and outrageous conduct, such that would justify an award for the intentional infliction of emotional distress. So if you're dealing with a person who is overly sensitive and somebody said something that was just offensive to them but wouldn't offend the average person, that's not going to get you there. The other thing you have to realize is that in intentional infliction of emotional distress, you're almost always going to immediately knock yourself out of any kind of insurance coverage, because insurance policies do not cover intentional acts. Because of this, it will often be very difficult to find an attorney who wants to handle a pure intentional infliction of emotional distress case, simply because if they work on a contingency fee, there's no real expectation of a recovery against the average individual, who often are judgment proof under Texas law due to the Bankruptcy and the Homestead Act laws that protect individual judgment creditors. So you're generally, if in order to bring that type of a claim, you would have to, in addition to the severe emotional distress, you would need a defendant who is a corporate defendant or a defendant that had assets that you could recover against, because likely the insurance is not going to apply there. The other thing that you need to be aware of is also if the statements that are being made are false and they cause you a higher degree of harm or a financial harm, that could fall under slander, which is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about pure somebody who suffers emotional distress as a result of somebody else's conduct that is purely an emotional injury or damage. You're most likely not going to be able to pull together a claim for that unless you just have the right thing, the right set of circumstances. Thank you.